This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to Teach Me Pokemon, the podcast. I'm your host, Corey, and along with my co-host, Jared, we're best friends, been playing Pokemon for a very long time.
What's up, everybody? Jared here with my co-host Corey, Teach Me Pokemon, coming to you live, hopefully pre-tournament to EUIC.
You know, this is recorded before EUIC. Will the episode drop before EUIC? That is the question. But, you know, Jared, as long as we get our predictions out before the tournament happened, then we're fine. Do I need to hold up a newspaper like they do in Ransom?
I think that might be good to let people know that this was recorded pre, so that you know, once we cover all the spreads and hit our over-unders, that people won't be questioning us.
That's true. Well, you know, I guess this doesn't help us give a timeline, but let's play our ticker at @teach_me_Pokemon. Hashtag Teach Me Pokemon. We need to use that hashtag board.
I mean, I'm Teach Me Pokemon on Pocket, but I know that you can't friend request me that way. You have to know my 16-digit unique user ID. But
have you been running Magnemite or no Magneton?
Darkrai? No, that's that and Manaphy, Palkia are my arch enemies right now.
Manaphy, Palkia
with Vaporeon, very good. Both very good decks. So. I'm still running the old Gyarados, Greninja, so it's close. It's a coin flip.
You know, we talk about like our old school like friend group. You know, where the four of us, I guess. We try to get our fifth one to play. He never did, but the four. He
did play in one tournament. He did play in one tournament.
He did play one tournament. And then we had our sixth buddy that played at Ho-Oh. So I guess there were six of us. But I do have hope that I know Pokemon. They're going to add Pocket to a regionals probably next year. That'll be like one of the big things they do. And once they do that, maybe we have a shot to get Aaron and David, our buddies Aaron and David. They would come to regionals and play Pocket.
That would be tight. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, so, I can see that.
Well, you'll be in the main tournament. There'll be that. And we'll be holding down the side events. My son and I will be holding it. We'll have the whole place covered. We just need some traditional game players on our squad, and then some people that would be willing to play the MOBA as well. Unite.
That's what's going to happen for sure. What do you want to talk about first?
We have to talk about. I just want to go through how different the world's mindsets are looking at these three tournaments that happened this past weekend. So we had Korean League Season 3. We had special event Puerto Rico, and then 5,000 players in Fukuoka. So let's start in the motherland for you, Corey.
I do like how in Korea I do say we. I'm half Korean. It's like Squid Game Season 2. Korean League Season 3. It's like are these episodes or what are these? I like it. I'm not opposed to it, but I like the season numbers.
That's fair. That's fair. This tournament to me was like we learned nothing from. We learned absolutely nothing from San Antonio. Or I'm sorry, from Mexico, from Merida. And history is doomed to repeat itself in Korea, Corey. The Miraidon taking it down.
It is. That's true. Well. Never mind. I have a thought, but we'll talk about Puerto Rico, and then I'll give my thought. I think Cerulege getting second place here is showing that this deck I think is very viable. I think maybe not S tier, but I think it's a top tier deck with the addition of the Palkia in here. The Badoo helps it with some navigation on some things, and then the Monkey Dory is a nice addition, and it almost took this down. So. I really like that being here, and I think it's going to be there to stay. Of course, we had our traditional Gardevoir in top 8, 2 in top 8.
Have to.
My mom's Korean last name was Kim, So I have to, maybe the 5th place finisher, Min Sok Kim, maybe is my cousin.
Could be.
You know, could be my cousin. So yeah, I don't know. Nothing else really standing out to me here. Did you know? Okay, 14th place. I'm not going to say the deck because I guess we've been saying the name wrong. You see what got 14th at the Korean League?
Yes, Archelodon.
How would you say it another way?
Archelodon.
Now I forgot how Azul is saying it. We're saying it wrong, and now I forgot. But I'm like, how do we do it?
Is anyone listening to this podcast surprised that Corey and Jared don't know how to pronounce the Pokemon?
I want that to be a new segment called like mispronunciations, and then we get someone from like Pokemon corporate to come on and like correct us. To be like, this is actually how the name is pronounced.
Listening to our podcast is like listening to the Key and Peele skit with the AA Ron. Like that's what people I think experience on the regular basis listening to this, and I think it's funny. It's just real. And the other part is we just don't care. You know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't think the Pokemon are offended. Like,
they're not. Call a judge over, see what they say. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm yanking out Archelodon. You know what I'm talking about. So but yeah, I don't know. Gouging Fire, 18th place. Pretty much after that, though, yeah, we didn't learn a lot. I think Korea is interesting to me because that's probably the esports capital of the world as far as, gaming, online gaming, competitive online, StarCraft, Legends, all the things. Do you think they have the chops to really get into this card game thing? Or do you think it's just like a 300-person tournament? Do you see this growing to like a Japanese level?
I just never don't like, why would you upset the Koreans? Like,
yeah,
like if they wanted to be, they could. Like, sure. There's no question in my mind, but like their focuses are elsewhere in the esports world. So sure, like Japan right now is like, yeah, let them keep playing League of Legends.
Yeah.
Like,
keep them distracted.
We are going to keep going with the game that we created and keep running with that. But would I be surprised to see an STK Pokemon team at some point with Faker leading the way? No, I would not. I would absolutely not. His wrists are getting old. Pokemon, you don't have to have good wrists. Watch for Faker. Faker Tord is the world's matchup I want.
Maybe we should call some Korean-based company like Samsung in like, hey, let's put a team together. Samsung Blue and Samsung White. Those were epic league teams back in the day. I'm sure we could get a Korean sponsor on board. Yeah,
and that's the big thing that we need. And people need to get rid of their names. We need like fun names. Like he's Faker. Like Tord needs a name.
That's true. Why have we not gotten to that point yet? Why don't people have like names? Why are we calling them their full names? That doesn't make any sense.
Because we don't do that Pokemon is at this weird intersection in between where in real sports we don't do that. People have nicknames, but their last name is on the back of their jersey.
That's true.
But in Pokemon, it's like a weird in-between space, but it could bridge the gap.
It bridges. It's why we like the game Pokemon. It bridges the gap. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what else to talk about here. Well, I have a point, but I don't want to say it yet until we talk about Puerto Rico.
Take us over to Puerto Rico because I looked at Puerto Rico and I thought the exact same thing. Like, we're looking at very, very similar results after the changes that we saw in Mexico. We had a Miraidon winner. I don't know how it's pronounced, an Archelodon, second Miraidon. We see some Dragapult in there, but it's variations of like these same things that people seem to be picking up on. Some Cerulege topped in there. Everything seems pretty standard so far when we look at Mexico, Korea, and then back to Puerto Rico. Would you disagree with that?
No, I wouldn't. And this is where my point I would like to make now is I think you have, and he would call himself this, you have a content creator in Azul that has been around the game a long time. The man's in his 30s. Welcome, Azul. And he has a big following, right? And he hasn't been playing as often. He goes to Mexico and gets first place, and globally, his deck gets copied and wins Korea. It gets copied and wins Puerto Rico. And I think people are like, they follow this man. They respect him. He is a good voice for the game, and then he wins, and it already has a ripple effect. And I don't know if any other player, and including Tord, has that kind of effect on decks that can go win a tournament, because Tord will win a tournament with rando crap in the deck, and no one can duplicate it. So
I agree. Yeah,
but Azul, he puts these very thoughtful decks together, and he's very open on his stream about what he wants to run and why he wants to do it. So I think people get a grasp of the deck, and then he can go run it, and this is what happens. So that's my take on it.
Here's my, I agree with you. Here's my hot take. If you're looking for the best meta reader deck builder, I think that's Azul. I do. The man has won on so many different styles of deck. He just gets it. He fundamentally gets it. One of the best players. I think Tord is the better player.
Yeah.
And his knowledge of the game, it's almost like he's going to build something that you said. It's not I can't play Tord decks in the way that they're built. Like he's looking at things in a way on a kind of a genius level. And I wouldn't call him the best deck builder, because what he builds only he can play. But if you said, okay, Azul, go build whatever you want, Tord, go build whatever you want, my money's all in on Tord.
Oh, like you go build, and then let's battle and see who wins. That's what you're saying?
But Azul, they're both consistent, right? What we're about to see in the freaking Japan tournament shows that they're both very consistent players.
Yeah, no. I think Tord, like you just said, because he is kind of at that other level of deck building, doesn't look at the rest of the meta and make decisions most of the time. People make decisions on what to play based on what he's playing.
Right.
I think Azul is very good at reading the meta and can enter into tournaments with counter decks and win. He won with Snorlax down in was it Perth, I think, last season. Read the meta really well. Miraidon read the meta really well. And couple that with obviously him being a really good player, that's where he's now. I think this is 8th regional win. I mean, so he can go in, he can craft a deck together. But you're right. I think head to head, scenario to scenario, I think Tord just knows just a little bit more on how to get out of certain things, because we've seen Azul flame out of tournaments too.
Sure.
And when you play as many as he does, it's going to happen. But Tord. I can't remember the last time Tord didn't make a day 2. It's just he's always going to be in contention in some way, shape, or form.
And that, speaking of which,
I didn't mean to make this a Tord Azul conversation. I just thought it's interesting that they copied him. That's all. But
you bring us into a really great point as we move, because we're going to move to Japan now. We're going to move to the 5,000 player tournament in Fukuoka. Forget everything we just said. Like, that's what was so amazing about this last week is, what happened in Mexico really had an effect in Korea and really had an effect in Puerto Rico. It means nothing in Japan, Corey. Japan cares nothing for what is happening in the U.S. in the Western meta. This was a beautiful chaos that we all love and want in Pokemon. And by the way, who's sitting there in the top 16? Let's take a look real quick. Japanese player. You get all the way down to Tord. Tord's there, and he's at 11. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I buy that. Sure. Adds up.
I looked back at as many Champion League tournament results as I could, and then I got bored. No other country has ever broken into the top 16, at least as the ones that I looked at. They're always all Japanese players. And then now you have this one with Tord. And
it's freakish, man. It's just straight freakish.
Yeah. When you look at more ways he can add accomplishments to his resume, obviously it's the World Championship. He's missing that. But yeah, just go casually, go play to Japan and almost take it down. I mean, unreal to me, and in a meta that doesn't exist yet. So he not only finished 11th in a 5,000 person tournament in Japan, he did it in the future. This doesn't even exist yet.
It's crazy.
I have started to see these decks on live right now because for Alligator, which is what won the darn tournament, every card in this deck is actually in our standard set right now. And so I've been actually seeing it. I think I've played it 6 times.
Sheesh.
It is kind of hilarious. Did you? I mean, I don't know where to start. I have a thought. One thing I want to bring up, but where did you want to start here besides Tord finishing 11th?
I don't even know. That's how exciting these results are to me. I know we're going to talk about things like the Farafarig, things like the Melodic, which you're welcome, Pokemon World. We pronounced those correctly. But the most exciting thing to me is Ryoya Kurashima in second place. This is the stuff right here for me, man. Yeah. This is what gets me excited. 2 great. We talked about this. Good plus good, Corey. Good plus good. Put it together. Put it together. It can work. Goldingo Dragapult can work.
We've seen it. This isn't the first time we've seen Goldingo and Dragapult together. But it is very fun to see this mechanic work side by side. It that is really cool. And it almost took down the tournament. So I just think against a 1 prize deck, they can basically one-shot Goldingo and can effectively get to the 1-shot against the Dragapult. Probably wasn't going to win. But really cool to see that. I mean, yeah, there's not a person on the planet that had top 4 for Alligator. Goldingo, Dragapult, Blissey, and then this stall attacking mayhem of a beautiful deck with Girafarig, Milotic. Just incredible results. Do you think this Blissey is going to see more play, or do you think this was like a one-off?
Well, I was going to ask you, like, what the heck is happening in this deck, Corey? I can make sense of every other top 8 deck. I don't, as the player of the 2 of us, walk me through the synergy that's supposed to be happening here, because it looks like in my opinion, it looks like they put some stall elements in here that we saw from the other main stall decks in the top 8. And then just decided that Blissey is a good option to attack with? Like, is this just an option mid-ranged base deck here?
No, I think this offers the most pivot because you can move those energies. So I think they realize if the matchup needs to change, they can move the energies around if they need to, right? So like if you need to pivot to the Farafarig, then you can move the energy. If you need to go to the Milotic, you can move the energy. If you can get the Cornerstone, it gives you some flexibility, which is cool. But at the end of the day, if you get the Monkey Dories down and they're not one-shotting your Blissey, this has always been a really intriguing deck. When this came out, I thought this was going to be really good. And so when it can get rolling, it's tough to beat. But now you can pivot to these other options if needed, and then always just go back to your Blissey. It's not the same as Blissey Bennett back in the old days, but like Blissey just offers a wall that in most matchups is actually probably unbeatable depending on what you're playing against. So I thought really creative. Obviously Blissey can draw cards with its attack, because it doesn't offer any other moving, right? Besides the Tatsuguri that'll find your supporters. This isn't running any draw type, there's no, Greninjas left obviously in this rotation anymore. It's gone. But that's what I'm seeing from this, Jared, is it's offering you pivot options, which I love.
Yes. And then it looks like it's, running some things in here, the Super Rod, the Night Stretcher. So you only have to run one of everything. And then you throw in this exchange ticket, which for those of you that are listening to this in the West, we don't have this card. But what this card does, it says, after counting your prize cards, shuffle them, put them on the bottom of your deck, and then take that many prize cards from the top of your deck and pretty much switch them. This is a way to get your prize cards into your deck. Really cool little mechanic. Lets you be potentially a little strategic about what you want in your prize cards now. So it feels risky because there's all these one-offs, but it's like, oh no, find that card. We can get what we need out of there, and for sure, guaranteed. And then just go find it.
Yeah. It's like Gladion, but that was a supporter. But you could like switch a card if you
Watch
want
out.
it.
Yes.
Yeah, but this is like, yes, you know something valuable is in there, but you might be putting something else valuable in it. But it does help you get the things that could be potentially stuck. Because honestly, if you got unlucky and both your blissies were prized, that's going to be a tough battle or uphill battle there. Same with like a one of any of the combo of Phoebus, Milotic, Draftrig, Frafrig, or Cornerstone. Depending on what you need, you got to be able to get into the prize. So,
Yes.
People will get in different mechanisms now without Hisui and Heavy Ball. So that's I think a cool answer.
Well, let's talk quickly about the overall feel of this was stall. Like,
yeah,
when you look at the top 8, what the best Japanese players that were here, they looked at the meta that was coming, things coming in, coming out, because we have the Zoroark here now as well, and they said we can't, we're not going to play this attack back and forth game. The best option is to run stall Pokemon, but then like you and I were talking, but that also are going to hit you. We're not just gonna. This isn't a complete stall mechanism where we're just gonna draw you out of your deck. This is, I'm not gonna let you attack, and I'm just gonna chip away at you. Is that how you kind of saw some of these decks that were playing out?
Yeah, and it's just so funny, Jared. It's like when Zoroark GX was at the height of its power, that's when decks like Sylveon started to appear. That's when Control Zoroark, which was actually a very terrifying deck as well, because these Zoroark decks, and obviously these are run differently than they used to be, but it was like 4 DCE and that was it.
Yeah.
And it was like, so if I can get around that, I win. It's so funny. So Zoroark really didn't show up as big as probably people thought. We had one in the top 16 here. But most of these decks, Jared, if it wasn't full on stall, like what Yoshiki got fourth was running, and all these other decks that were pretty similar to it, if you weren't running full stall, you had a piece of stall in all, like most of these decks. And so you're right. I think as they add more cards to this rotation, there will be ways to get around stuff. So, and I'll say this point, and then you can say something. But I think I think it's hilarious. The card that I think the community was pleading for, that Pokemon was like, fine, we'll print, was this Lily's Clefairy that Tord had. That's pretty much just Dragonpult, too good. So let's make a card that just gives it psychic weakness and call it a day. Very cool. And obviously Tord used that too. Very good effect, I think, in this deck.
Yeah, throwing the psychic weakness in there. Shame on that, going back to kind of the fairy roots. What I want to talk about is, it's super interesting. I want to talk a little bit about the winner right now, but it's super interesting to me is I'm wondering if Hiroma, the winner, is looking at maybe potential other Japanese tournaments, is seeing kind of the rise of what's coming up. Because this is a very pocket deck, right? This for Alligator. Only one, I don't know in the 5,000 people that were playing it, how many people. But this deck was doing everything that the stall decks were doing well, but it offered, in my opinion, a better attacking element, which in my mind, when you're looking at these top decks, it's like, well, yep, this for Alligator isn't getting shut down by anything in the stall decks. Like, this thing is going to run rampant against the stall decks. And it also offered opportunities to hit big numbers against these Terra Box type of decks that were there. Like, it just seemed like this was the perfect play for the meta read.
I don't know. I will say the Ogerpon, you can throw Cornerstone out there, and the Feraligatr has the ability. And
That's
so if you look at the deck list, nothing can attack unless you're going hit and run against the Cornerstone. Because Feraligatr has an ability, Monkey Dory has an ability, Milotic has an ability, Mimikyu, it doesn't matter, but basically the Badoo, you're item locking. And, so I don't know. I can't go look at my pathway thing that I usually like to do, but I don't know if Hiromu matched up against these stall decks, because how would he have won?
So are you saying like potentially looking at, as we look at, like, do you think he was just you think he hit Terra boxes moving through the finals? Because that, to me, that would be very fortunate for him to avoid 1, 2, 3, and then potentially even the Blissey could be a tough matchup. I don't know. Let's take a look, because the Crocodile, yeah, you could every turn potentially he could be doing 90 if you have 2 Monkey Dory, well, maybe even 3 Monkey Dories going. Maybe that's the strategy there. Maybe you are just throwing out retreat, throw a Mimikyu out, because the Mimikyu can't be hit by the steel or the
No, it can hit through, because
because of its ability, because of its
effective
attack. That's true. So I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know how it was able to. I just have to think it didn't. Let me look right now, Jared. I have my mic kind of positioned very delicately right now, so I didn't want to move it. Let's look. Let's see if Pokedata. Great website, by the way. Probably needs a little bit of a facelift. This thing feels like back in like 2002, but who am I to judge? And it's not even it's not up here. So they don't have the Japanese tournament. So we don't know. I can't look at the pathway. I just don't know how it wins. If we're crazy talk right now and you're listening to this, hit us up in the comments, because I don't know. Yeah, I don't understand how this deck gets through Cornerstone Ogerpon unless it was prized. That's the only way I can see it, because they ran 1. And again, no Hisuian heavy balls. So maybe they couldn't get it out of the prizes.
Well, the other interesting thing looking at some of the other stall decks is they're not really running anything to pick up, right? Traditional stall decks, you are running decks that allow you scoop cards, whatever that may be. I don't see a lot of scoop cards here, which I mean, chip damage then does make a difference. I see Pokevital in our top 4 Yoshiki's deck, but I don't see traditional scoop cards. Same thing, Pokevitals as the ace spec. So I wonder if this really was just a game of chip damage and monkey dorying, because the Ogerpon also, if you're just sitting your Feraligatr out there, it can't one-shot it, even though it may not be able to attack. So I'm wondering if there's even some dynamics here. But the Ogerpon also can't attack. Is it a Terra? Yeah, it can't attack the Melodic.
It'll hit through it.
Oh, because of I see what you're saying, because of the effect of the attack. But even then, it can't one-shot it. So it's going to hit for 140. It's a 270 health Pokemon. If you have at least 1 Monkey Dory, 2 Monkey Dories going, then this becomes just a damage moving game, potentially.
I guess. I mean, if I were me, then I'm targeting the Monkey Dory. I mean, just boss Monkey Dory. I wouldn't mess around. I don't know. You know what we're going to do? I'm going to go to the stream. I'm going to see what I can find, and we'll report back later. Because I just, it doesn't make any sense to me. Stahl should have won this tournament, Jared. Should have won. It was stolen. It was stolen.
My opinion is it kind of did, Corey. Any deck that runs Farafarig or Melodic, I think they at least get to apply.
Yeah.
Right? They're not purists like yourself.
They're not.
They're not purists, but they're making it work. They're putting things together. That deck that Feraligatr deck has so many fun things in it. It has a hit and run element. It has big numbers that it can hit. And right now, apart from, I will say, the Dragapult, a lot of these Pokemon aren't going above 300. That 280 number is really nice right now.
Well, I think you still got to get to 320, right, for Dragapult.
For the Dragapult. That's what I'm saying, apart from the Dragapult. But otherwise, like, these Terra boxes, they're looking very, very killable.
Okay, you know how it won? This is me. It did bite. And then they couldn't retreat. Because there's no I'm looking at the stall list. There's not one card that allows you to retreat. Let me see. Rod, Countercatcher, Vital, Evolution, Turbo Energy, Counter Gain, Town Store, Artisan. So if I mean, Tatsuguri, let's say, GG.
Yeah.
It actually is an auto win. Unless I'm missing something here, Jared. But
the Totodile, every single part of that for alligator gives you so many options.
It does. Now it's doing 10 every turn, right? It's doing 10, right? So eventually it would create problem. I don't know. I'm gonna watch the stream. I don't know. I don't know. Are you excited for this meta?
I am.
Is this Atlanta for us?
It might be, and that's super exciting because this has there's no true flavor right now. Right? What this says to me is if we're getting some of these cards, like that was a Wild West tournament. Whereas past Japanese tournaments, whether it was last year when Lugia was stomping on everything, usually it's so heavily adopted. But we've never, ever seen a tournament that I can remember, Corey, where one of the top 3 decks was Stall. There's no way everyone's running Stall at Atlanta. There's no way in my mind that everyone's running Stall tomorrow in London. Like, people will look at this and they will tech. We still have canceling Cologne. We still have some options right now before rotation that Stall wrestles with a little bit.
Well,
so
I'm not saying now. I'm just saying I think the next meta, I think these Stall decks are not going anywhere because of all the different options between Terra, EX, and ability. I mean, you really can cover all your bases. Yeah, EUIC, Jared, it's probably going to be Miraidon. They're all just going to run with what Azul was running. But I think when we get to this next rotation, this is exciting. I think this is so much different types of decks that can be run. And Japan always has had different results than the rest of the world. But I just like looking at this Limitless page. It's just so cool. It's all the different colors, the different things. I mean, and then you have Tord. And really, we didn't even talk about what'd you call it, the Terra box?
Yes.
I mean, really, it was like just a cool deck. The Noctowls, finding Tord any 2 trainer cards, Teal Ogrepon, Wellspring for the sniping, a Pikachu to one-shot, the Mew, EX to draw, the Clefairy to get the weakness on Dragon Pole, Latias, Pheasantipity, a Ditto, so you're putting any basic into play if you do that turn 1, Terapagos, and then Blood Moon Ursaluna. So, I mean, just a typical Tord deck, if I've ever seen one in my life.
Well, and if we can jump briefly into the education moment, this is perfect for what I want to talk about moving forward.
Jump.
We're jumping in. I'm calling this education moment helpful hybrids. Helpful hybrids, Corey.
Okay.
And I really think you nailed it on the head. I think the future of Pokemon, at least for the rest of this season, is what we have seen with, really, in my mind, the forerunner for this has been the Gardevoir with the addition of the Mawile. Gardevoir, and this is giving yourself the opportunity to win the game through multiple.
Why you guys say that out loud, huh? What are we doing? Hey, Matthew, can we edit that out?
It's no secret, Corey. It's no secret. But that's what's so cool about this Feraligatr deck. And I think giving your deck multiple ways to win a game is huge. And Feraligatr has 3. Feraligatr it may even have 4. Feraligatr can just beat you. Like, it can do enough damage quickly, especially with Evolutors, and then it's just popping you. And there's nothing you can do about it. It can beat you, as we just talked about, as we figured out, with Bite. It can just lock you in place and card you out. It can stall you and then build up and get you that way. It can hit and run and beat you and throw something out there that you can't deal with. How in the world do you game plan for something that can do so much? Because usually we're saying that in regards to, well, it can sprinkle damage counters and it can hit you or it can snipe you. That's still just taking 6 prize cards, Corey. That's not a different way to win. That's just finding different ways to win in the same way. This can do so much. This is like a Swiss Army knife of different ways to win the games. And that's what I mean by hybrid, is I just think moving forward, the best players, while we still have the cards to win different ways, are going to have these hybrid decks of, I can beat you with damage, I can beat you by stall, I can lock you in place, I can card you out. No longer do I have to pick one. It's everything. I pick everything.
I choose everything.
Yeah.
It really just comes down to, and people probably don't want to hear this, but I'm not going to say the word get lucky, but you have to set up the play in the match that puts your opponent in a position to get lucky, to get to be able to pull the win out. This is what I mean by this. So, like I said, I've played this against this Alligator deck about 6 times on live right now. And really, it's only, in my opinion, its biggest weakness is there's 4 water energy. And they have to attach a luminous or a dark, but they have to attach one of those energies to the Monkey Dory to move the damage counters, because that damage does stack up quite a bit on the Alligator. And what I have been finding is they rarely will put more than 2 Alligators into play or Totodiles. And it struggles to find energy sometimes. And so you have to get it to a point where it's your age old knock it out, or Iono it to 2, knock out the Alligator. It doesn't draw. I mean, it doesn't have Curlia on the bench.
No Fezandipity, right? I don't believe I saw Fezandipity.
There's no Fezandipity. This deck is just putting its head down and attacking you, and that's how you beat it. Is you just hope they don't draw that with the water energy. And I would say I mean, I'm not to toot my own horn, I haven't lost to it yet, but again, the Gardevoir matchup is pretty tough for that Alligator, and which is funny because this Gardevoir doesn't exist in this world because they rotated the cards out, but it still gets to play in the world we're in right now. And the Gardevoir I think is just a tough matchup for Alligator. So, but that's what I've ended up doing is, you counter catcher something off the bench and then they have to burn an energy to retreat it. And then you just snipe with the Scream Tail. I mean, it is what you do against decks that may be deemed best deck in format. Is sometimes you aren't going to beat it. You just have to get a little lucky, but you set it up that way. Some players get antsy. Oh, I'm going to Iono when they have 3 prizes left. No. Wait till they have 2. Maybe you want to get real wily. Wait till they have 1. Make them get a knockout. Give them a knockout, and then Iono them to 1 and just hope they don't top deck it, because at the end of the day, that's just what has to happen. And that's a card game. As much as that sucks, that's a card game. So
no, you're right. No, you're right. But I don't know what's going to come from this. I don't know if we're going to see a copy-paste tournament here in London, but probably not, because like you said, we're waiting for Atlanta for the rotation because we need some of these new cards. But will London look at a Alligator, because it is 100% playable, like you mentioned? There's no cards in that deck right now. Will we see something like that happen sooner rather than later? And then will the future of Atlanta be stalled? But what I'm saying with this education moment is you've got to be thinking hybrid now to get prepared for nationals and end of season.
You got to be thinking hybrid. Alligator will be at EUIC. There's no way it's not. People are going to see this. They're going to be playing it on live, and they're like, "Oh, this is so cool!" And they're going to have the Mimic You. They'll have an Ogre Pond that maybe you can run. Hit it with the Croconaw, and so they'll put the Mimikyu out there. So they'll be doing this. This deck will be at EUIC. Do I anticipate it being a great deck? Probably not, but because I think it needs this meta to be really strong. However, people are going to run it, but I still think this is it's Miraidon, it's Dragapult. There'll be Gardevoir will be strong. I believe that to still be best deck in format right now. I think EUIC will have a lot of that same. No Reggie Drago, though. We're done. We've moved on in life.
Yeah, I've said that once.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying.
It's done.
The minute you lay off of Badoo, which maybe now people are like, oh, the meta has changed enough. The moment they lay off Badoo, here he comes. Here he comes, Corey.
Jared, it's the dumbest card in the game. No one's laying off that little seed. It can be thrown in any deck. When they're sitting there being like, "Well, I have 1 slot left, Badoo." I mean, it's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. And I love it when I have no item cards in my hand and it doesn't matter and they still Badoo me and then I can knock it out. Nothing brings me more joy than that. It's a waste of a turn for you. Thanks. Move the Monkey Dory 3 damage.
But that even draws my point further. Like the addition of Badoo is hybrid. Oh, great. We'll get you that way too. Even though my deck, the other 59 cards, I'm literally trying to just do mass damage to you. But Badoo gives me a hybrid deck.
Yeah, item lock decks have always been really strong. And now every deck's an item lock deck if they want it to be. So, hybrid.
But I'm here for the chaos, baby. The age of hybrid chaos is here.
All right.
Great Pokemon set name, by the way. Hybrid chaos.
Hybrid.
Yeah, I want royalties.
Trademark.
I want royalties.
We're putting the trademark in. Who wins player? What wins the deck? And I have it. I have it. You want me to go first?
Sure, go first.
There's a friend of the podcast who is a brilliant player, resides in Europe. Really, in my opinion, was the first to have major success on Palkia. And I'm talking about Stefan Ivanov. And I think Stefan shows up at EUIC. He is one of in the top, or like in a handful, 5 to 10 players that could take a year off, show up at a tournament and win. Like he just could. That's just what he does. And I think the Palkia, this the cycle, right? So Miraidon would be like, that's very scary for Palkia. But I think there'll be decks that counter Miraidon. He swoops in with Dusknoir Palkia as probably the best Dusknoir Palkia player. And then he wins the tournament on that deck.
On Dusknoir Palkia.
That's and Badoo. And Badoo in there too. That's right. That's my prediction.
I feel like we're playing Clue like right now. I'll take Robin Schulz at EUIC with the Gardevoir. Yes, that is yes.
Who did it? It was Andrew Hedrick in the library with Lost Box. No, Raul in the basement with Lugia.
It was
as another segment for our
Tord in Fukuoka with Terrabox.
Yes. Can Tord? I don't think that deck would be very good here, but he could run it, right? No.
Clefairy.
Oh yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
Probably the best card in the deck. You can't run it. So I love it. All right. We'll see. We obviously have no faith in our American players, but
I don't. I mean, Owen Cameraman could show up and blow up. Like that's
Owen. Mm-hmm.
That's a great pick. There's just a lot of great EU players. We'll see who travels. We'll find out, but it's going to be really exciting. But let's give one more shout out to Stray Collections, our sponsor. Teach 10, get you some cards on Stray Collections. That's collections with a Z. Got to remember that.
With a Z. And
continue to help us. We're getting close to those 2,000 subscribers. Keep watching us every week. We're clawing are there. We're trying to, make things more regular here, but we keep having children and businesses and can just
one
the consistency wrestle continues.
I see it on the horizon. I think it either will happen or it's totally not going to happen. It's one of the two. I guess that's the only two options there are. I guess one last plug, if you're driving through Waco, Texas, come by the Waco escape rooms and check out the Pokechest vending machine, $1. Get yourself a card. Who knows? Might be a PSA 10 Charizard that we have. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. Just come by. Pokechest, $1, 4 quarters. That's all you need. 4 quarters.
Or any bowling alley in Nashville.
Or any bowling alley in Nashville. Checks in the mail, bowling alleys in Nashville. We just gave you free publicity.
Man. Well, I'm excited to watch EUIC this weekend. It's going to be so much fun.
Yep.
Can't wait for Atlanta for just big switches. That's going to be great. Hopefully we get the opportunity to be there. But that's really going to wrap us up for today, Corey. It's good talking to you on a Friday. We will recap all of EUIC early next week. Look forward to some of the other tournaments that we have. But until then, listeners, Corey, we'll catch you later.
You can find us at roguemedianetwork.com. Teach Me Pokemon Podcast. Come and dive with us.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.